Welcome to Josh's House of Nerd podcast.
Greetings, Nerd Nation. I'm Josh, and welcome to the podcast. Grab a cold, evergreen goblet of blue milk and make yourself comfortable here at my House of Nerd. Tonight's sponsor spot is Spatula City, where you get 10 spatulas for just 1 penny. Have you ever desired to have your own special spatula? If so, then come on down to your local Spatula City, where we are now featuring our own special spatula-shaped spatulas. Get them while supplies last. All of this and more at Spatula City. Not a sponsor. Now back to the show.
How long did it take you to get that spatula just down? Because you didn't stutter once. I almost lost it halfway through as your 7 spatulas of spatulopolis.
I'm glad you got that because that's the joke, of course. I mean, it's one of them. I only practiced it like 3 times. Like I practiced. Me and my daughter Lily, my oldest daughter, were writing it together, and because she loves that show, and
Right.
and so
Wait,
she's
there's a show?
it's UHF.
Oh, right.
Spatula City, we sell
Yeah.
spatulas, and that's all. Great, now I got a copyright. No.
That's a strike.
There's a strike.
There's our channel. There goes our channel.
Okay,
So,
wait.
Before
so-
we get started
All right, go ahead.
with the movie, because we had a confusion with regards to what a guilty pleasure movie is, right?
Is this still on your mind?
It's still on my mind. It's still absolutely on my mind. Because I finally was able to articulate why I feel like this is a guilty pleasure movie. So you've had those times where you get super pissed off at someone, even though it's not their fault, or you're just super pissed off at something, and you know the right thing to do is to let it go, like let it like wash off like water. This is the kind of movie you watch to keep that feeling going. And that's where I get the guilty pleasure. This is the movie you watch to like just stay in that pissed off, nobody can talk to me mood. And so that's where I came in with guilty pleasure. That's where my feelings were with that.
Okay.
Not so much ashamed to tell people you watch it, but ashamed to be watching it for that reason.
Sure.
All right, fair enough. Just before we get started, Josh, what is an evergreen goblet?
Okay, so that's a joke. That's an old joke to... I was wondering if you guys were ever going to ask about that. That's an old joke that we did when I was in high school. That's more for my friends out there in the ether from high school. Back in the day, we used to joke about having, you had the Monty Python's and the Quest for the Holy Grail. Mm-hmm. Well, at that time, Arby's had where you could buy the special Christmas evergreen goblet while supplies lasted, type thing. You go in. So we all bought ourselves these green evergreen goblets, and they were like our holy grails. And just to show how cool I was in high school, we also started to make our own ripoff, and we actually filmed pieces of it, of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And our Holy Grail was the evergreen goblet. And so it was kind of a long-running joke. So yeah, not a lot of people get it, and I knew somebody was going to ask about it. But that was a lot.
Don't put any of those clips on the channel. We'll have our second copyright strike.
Of what?
From Arby's? For something that was like 20 years ago or more?
Oh yeah.
You never know. Those brands, they'll come after you. They'll take your money.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Josh's channel is probably already, basically, if he's not going to get a sponsorship by Taco Bell, they're probably going to put a strike against his channel.
That's the video that I got the most hits on so far. So
but
But
didn't you release one? You released one recently.
Yeah,
that was Taco Bell.
It was
also
the one this weekend over the new cheesy.
The original Taco Bell video I did where I ranted about the menu items. That was the highest one to that point that I'd ever released, and then the second highest I've ever released was the one over the weekend, and then I got, and then the next, the third most viewed one was our podcast about computers, actually.
Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is our podcast content isn't quite compelling enough to beat out Taco Bell reviews.
No.
So we need to start changing. And instead of 3 different coded movies, you do 3 different coded meals at 3 different restaurant chains.
Yeah, I'm not going to be much help for that.
Yeah, that sounds like too much to me too. I'm going to continue to do the Taco Bell one, but when they're come out with new things, but that's definitely some of the variety of the channel. That's why I love having a channel of just all around nerd. Is I can do anything I want that's nerdy to me.
It's your channel. You should do anything.
And that's one thing. I love doing this, and actually our views are moderately good on this one, but. And they're actually the reason that I think our views are actually going up. And so if you remember before the whole stay at home thing, when we stopped doing this last time, our podcast numbers were actually going up for views and stuff. And then the disaster one was our first one back. So it was.
If you're sitting here listening to this podcast, tell your friends and your family, tell the coworkers you like, not so much the ones you don't like. Those ones you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to talk to them. You can leave a sticky note on their desk with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, that's kind of the so we're doing good. I feel like the more and more we do these, the more and more they're going to start kind of amping up again. I've got a lot of people commenting saying, "Oh, I didn't know he had a channel."
Yeah, it's a Field of Dreams business model.
Yeah,
build it and it will come.
Right, and a lot of people were like, "We liked what you were, we saw that you put it on Facebook, but we didn't know you actually had an actual channel." And I was just like, "Oh," and so I got a lot of subscription off of people this last weekend over, "Hey, I just thought you were putting videos on Facebook, and I didn't realize it was actually YouTube videos."
Yeah, that's cool.
So, anyways, I guess
So
we blundered enough, but.
Yeah, I can go ahead and give.
Well, what I wanted to do this week was a little different. For those people who don't know much about the movie, I kind of wanted just to give a quick synopsis about.
We're gonna spoil the crap out of it
and stuff like that.
Watch it beforehand.
Right, but well, okay. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people, that people out there don't know totally about it. That's why I was thinking about we do a synopsis.
we could read the tagline.
Which
Well, that already gives away half of it.
Well, I found
we're gonna spoil the crap out of the movie, but we don't want to spoil the crap out of it too soon. I guess is the point here.
It's okay.
Well, I found a very condensed synopsis of it, or a summary of it.
Right.
Which is just about 2 Irish brothers who find a calling from God to go out and basically save the streets of evil people. And what's that?
Downtown Boston, yeah.
In downtown Boston, yeah.
Wonderful accents.
With wonderful accents. So, John, get us rolling, dude.
So I have to say, this is one of my favorite movies. It has some of my favorite all-time scenes in it. The reason I watch it, obviously, is guilty, but I absolutely adore this movie. And one of the things that got me early on, the thing that actually made me stop and keep watching the movie instead of walking away for XYZ reasons, when Del Rocco comes in and the movie stops and it does that subtitle thing like you see on Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, where it like gives the tagline of who this is and Russian Mafia, and it's he's the messenger boy. That just made me like stop and look at it, and the movie started again, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like, I don't see this very often in movies at all. Like, you don't see movies just stop and tell you, like, okay, this is this person. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'll sit around and watch it. That's what made me stop. And that's like the very, I don't know, like third scene of the movie.
Josh's reaction when we were watching it together on Thursday night was almost exactly that, but like over halfway through the movie, he was like, what is going on?
I just kept looking at him going, dude, this cadence to this movie is weird. It's weird how it ebbs and flows, It's just one of the weirder movies I've seen I've never seen a movie like this one. Well, I have. There's similar movies out there, but this one was just interesting how it brought you into a situation, and then it stopped showing you that situation, and then it showed you the aftermath of that situation, and then in a flashback they show you what happened. It's such a weird way to tell a story, and yet it works.
It sucks you in.
It does suck you in.
what it does is it lends credence to the to Willem Dafoe laying out what actually happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it highlights the bumbling aspects of the other detectives. The serial crusher theory and the huge guy, and
Big friggin' guy.
and so it piques your interest before the event happens. You see the aftermath, and you're like, what the heck? Just, what's going on here? You've got an inkling, you've got an idea, but not enough. Because you come on the scene, the very first flashback scene where they do this, and it's just this big fat Russian guy laying in the alley with bandages over his butt. You're like, what the crap?
What the crap's going on?
Yeah, but it piqued your interest before the scene happens, and so when the scene happens, I think that small endorphin hit of, oh, now I know what's going on. Now I know it happened. I think it's brilliant. I think they did such a good job with it.
Well, and you brought up Willem Dafoe in that one. I think he's a wonderful actor anyway. He is so good. But this whole scene just shows how good he is. And I loved the entire thing when he was, and he does it many times. Every time he would do his little dancey thing and dance around while he's trying to solve something or whatever. Oh my goodness, I cracked up. But it just shows him once he puts his Walkman CD player on and his earphones in that and he starts solving the crime. It's just amazing how that whole scene kind of unfolds as he's kind of looking through it to the song of that pretty, to the sound of that pretty music.
And that Walkman is an amazing Walkman. I had that same exact model. Same exact one. I got it for Christmas.
You're kidding me.
Now,
it's something similar,
but
yeah.
I listened to crappy country music instead of opera, but I had the same exact Walkman.
That's okay.
We're not going to hold it against you forever.
Yeah, I mean, taste is something you develop over time.
Let's edit that out.
Yeah.
With it.
We'll edit that out.
I will gladly admit that before I found my own music, I definitely listened to my parents' country music.
That's true. That was mine too.
So did I.
But it did save me. That Walkman saved me on many a field trip bus rides, because we did alphabetical seating, and my alphabetical seating sat me next to really, really dumb people. So I give thanks to that Walkman.
Are you sure it was alphabetical?
It was absolutely alphabetical.
It wasn't like all the dumb people are grouped here, and you're like,
No,
why am I the only smart person here?
I had to deal with the same 4 people around me on everything. School picture day where they line you up alphabetically, yearbook alphabetically. I was just surrounded by what I feel like, maybe I was surrounded by the detectives. I feel like a little Willem Dafoe, surrounded by incompetent idiots. I wish one of them would have brought me a bagel.
Or coffee. My goodness, that was so funny. He was trashing that guy the whole time. All right, now you got to get me a bagel or a coffee or a.
How many bodies are there? 8. 9, gosh dang it.
Yeah.
What's the symbolism?
That whole scene. But oh man, and just the when he finally makes that connection in that scene, when Willem Dafoe's like, this is what they do in crappy movies.
Yeah.
This is some James Bond level shit.
That's awesome.
It absolutely is. They take a step back and acknowledge their own film, and it was fantastic.
The other part where he's examining the body in the when the Russians were hit, and he's like, his gloves are full of blood. And he's like touching his hair and his head, and all the other detectives are like looking at him like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Don't do that!"
Oh,
but
gross.
They don't say anything. It was so great.
Yeah, that was.
He was so into it. I mean, it just is fun how he's just so into it and like blooding up his hair. I saw. I was watching it on Amazon again, and they had that X-ray that if you look in, where it tells you a little bit about the scene and maybe some screw ups, and if you look in one part of that scene, he actually doesn't have blood after he already had touched his head again and stuff like that. Yeah, it's one of those funny goof ups and stuff. But I'll be honest with you. I was a little, usually when me and Crit, or me or you or Crit, I don't know if you're doing it, but I know Crit has a notebook. I have a notebook that I'm writing this stuff on. And when I was watching it with Crit at his house the other day, I didn't write hardly anything down, because I was just so trying to absorb the movie, because it was a little weird, and there were still things I didn't kind of catch on to, like, how do they, come to the, this idea of, doing what they did, of going out there and killing people. And I thought it was maybe triggered by, the bar fight at the very beginning and the, the killing of those Russians. By the way, I've got to say one of my favorite characters in this entire movie is the bartender with Tourette's.
Oh yeah.
That guy's just magical.
Metaphors. Not everyone can handle metaphors.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's like Biff from Back to the Future when it comes to his metaphors, man.
When he comes into the Haven, the Catholic hospital, and he's just going off, I lose it every time. Every time with the nuns in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, the nuns just sell that scene, man, with him swearing with his Tourette's.
So on your second watch, did you get the idea about where they came up with becoming vigilantes?
I still don't know if I totally understand it. Like, where I know it's in the bar and the whole thing where they have the water falling on them, but I don't get it.
Well, that's when they're voluntarily in the jail cell trying to wait out and they slept there that night.
Yeah,
and that's actually where they had the inspiration,
vision.
the vision, I guess. So,
but it does
it's kind of like they got away with it, and so it must the original 2 murders. So. Because of self-defense. But,
the one thing about this movie is there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens. I noticed too, of a lot of like, you almost kind of like got to try to think what they're thinking, because they like look at each other and you can just tell they know what each other's thinking, but you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've changed my position on the protagonists and whether or not they're genuinely good people. Because I think when I was younger and I saw this, I was like, hell yeah, they're doling out justice to terrible people in, kind of course, in the name of God, but also just kind of, they're obviously screw ups, as far as that goes. Like, they mostly get out of what they do because of anti-stormtrooper aim and luck, like lots of luck. And that's like the whole point. It's like every incident is like, they shouldn't really be able to survive this, but they've just got the luck of the Irish, and they just kind of break out of it. And they also have like really good aim while hanging upside down from a rope.
Well, I think that's the whole touched by God thing.
Yeah.
This is our calling, so of course we're going to be protected throughout it. And
yeah, but I think that the framing for them in the movie, I don't know if you're supposed to identify with them.
Why is that?
Well, I think maybe this changes after 9/11, because I think before 9/11, this came out in 99.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely watched it pretty early after it came out, and it definitely made a lot of rotation in DVDs, and so I think everybody had this DVD.
Did you know that this was in limited theatrical release because of Columbine?
I did not.
It actually, I was reading some key points on this, and it was only released in something like 20 theaters nationwide, and it was because Columbine happened, I think, like the week or two before, and because of that, they didn't get a wide theatrical release. But this movie has become very popular, actually, in the DVD market and in the streaming market.
Yeah. So when I was looking at it, I was like, the movie keeps setting them up as idiots. I mean, they really don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. They have a justification, and they're getting away with it, and they're getting lucky, and they're, everything else like that. But I don't think the movie is explicitly saying these guys are good at what they're doing necessarily.
Well, and I think Willem Dafoe highlights that. The whole scene with the rope highlights that. Yeah. What are we going to need rope for? Like, just the back and forth, and it just so happens that it worked out that one time. But the reality is, like, really, what they had no plan to use the rope.
Right.
They had nothing to do
with the knife.
Or the knife.
But it has some really great bits in it as far as an action comedy goes, for sure. Basically every part where they have Ron Jeremy grinning into the TV. I mean, he is just such an awesome dirtbag.
I blocked out the fact that he was in this movie, and I was woefully unprepared to be reminded of that fact. I had to stop and say, I'm like, okay, is this Ron Jeremy? Because I can't remember. Oh, yep, it was. And this is a poor thing to
You know what's really funny is he really does play a pretty good part. He actually acts it very well.
He's perfect for it. He does it really well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
slimy and just, yeah. But then like the whole end of the movie, like that whole last part with the speech in the courthouse when they're about to kill the guy and they're forcing everybody in the courthouse to watch. And I remember when it first came out, like this was kind of seen as like a final triumph of justice where justice is not being doled out by the courts. But I think after 9/11 that it doesn't ring the same, because if you listen to what they're saying, they sound like terrorists. I mean, they don't sound like freedom fighters. They don't sound like necessarily even vigilantes. They sound like terrorists. They're like, we're going to change everything, whether you want them to or not. And
anyone that doesn't see our side of the philosophy, our version of God, our version of moral right and wrong, we're going to send them in a never-ending river of death.
Yeah, and
that's
it's
what they're
like,
saying.
yeah, and it's definitely it was definitely a fun take before, but after, I'm not sure it's kind of cringy actually watching them say that type of stuff.
I took it as, since it was my very first time, I definitely did take it as more terroristy, but I saw what angle they probably were originally going for, of a vigilante, almost like a daredevil, like vigilante type feel.
Yeah. I feel like they could potentially have gotten rid of that portion of it, and kept the crazy Latin soundtrack. I think had they had the nice Latin soundtrack swelling in the background as they're demolishing people. I kind of wish my church was like that, with that soundtrack going on in the background.
Oh,
God. Pay a lot more attention with the heavy metal Latin mass going on.
I've been to churches in South America that did have that. It's quite interesting.
What I wonder is how much this film took after Matrix. So if you remember, Matrix was released early 1999, and this came out around November. I wonder how much the Matrix influenced some of these scenes. So, for example, when
my guess is it didn't, because it can't,
because the filming would have happened simultaneously.
And if there is any things you can draw from that or Matrix like, I think it was just coincidence. Especially like when they fall out of the ceiling. If I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but and they're doing the spinning thing and stuff like.
I'm referring to the soundtrack with not necessarily the Latin portions, but the style of music, and then some of the scenes, especially the one where they're walking. They just purchased all the guns. They're in the black trench coats. Black outfits, and it's just this badass walk.
That's just popular music for that time.
I agree.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
more late 90s, less.
Yeah, more late 90s, less like specific. Like, The Matrix was a surprise. It wasn't
Huge
something
surprise
that anybody knew was going to be as big as it was. So even after it immediately came out, it didn't really tear everything. I mean, it was kind of word of mouth, I thought.
It did. It took it about, I think it was right around 2 months for it to kind of like really get out there and really pick up pace.
Well, to date myself, I was 11, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was 19, so that was perfectly in my wheelhouse.
Wait, you're only 8 years old. Hold on, I got to write this down so I remember your age.
I was
getting your full birth date.
I was 21.
May 1st, 1980.
Now I can call your cable service provider and have your internet slowed down.
No. I give them the wrong birth date. So
that's probably a good idea.
I think they think that I'm a senior citizen, so I can get discounts.
I mean, you're almost there. You're getting close.
Maybe.
At least in spirit.
If he's a senior citizen, then what am I, jerk? Yeah, apparently. And I'm only 3 years older, so
you'll live just as long as the cat did.
Nice.
Oh, the cat scene.
That was gross. Oh my goodness.
I have to pause the movie every time I see that because
and so unforeseen.
So hard.
It reminds me so much of a Pulp Fiction vibe. When that cat explodes, like the car in Pulp Fiction, and his brains go over. Oh my goodness. I don't know if that was, again, is that before Pulp Fiction?
I don't think so.
Actually, I think it's after Pulp Fiction. I remember when I saw Pulp Fiction the first time. I think it was 95, 94 when I saw Pulp Fiction the first time. So, because I remember where I watched it. So, anyways.
So, 94.
94, yeah. But so that was such a Pulp Fiction vibe, and I was so gross.
Well, and then afterwards, when Del Rocco's asking, "Do you remember the name of the cat? I will kill myself right now if you can tell me the name of the cat."
Yeah.
And it was just the whole scene and how this little thing became what they dedicated 3 or 4 minutes of screen time to the cat.
It was an expensive bit. They want to get the most out of it they could.
Yeah, it was a really good bit.
Yeah, it was. It was entertaining.
And I'm sure they got some flack from PETA.
I guess. I don't know.
I doubt. Well, who knows?
If the budget was low enough, that might have been real.
Yeah, I doubt.
No way that was real.
No way.
Well, hey, Troy Duffy didn't do much after this, except for Boondock Saints 2. So.
Yeah, which I don't think was a very good movie.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that one.
If you'd have brought that one up, that would have definitely been a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, but nobody likes that. Not even guilty pleasure people.
I was just the point.
No, my brother was actually saying that he actually didn't mind the second one, so he's one person that might have potentially liked it a little bit.
I feel a little bummed because it was such a. I didn't want Troy Duffy to be a one-hit wonder, because after I finished it the first time and realized kind of who'd wrote it and who directed, like I'm gonna go find his stuff. I really like his stuff, and there's nothing. Like there's nothing else by Troy Duffy, and so it was.
So do you know the story about why he wrote this? He was like a barber or something like that, and there was a killing outside of his apartment, and it triggered him that he went out there and there was a drug dealer of a guy, and the drug dealer was picking the guy's pocket. Like it was the guy he had been selling drugs to, and the guy had died, and he was like basically cleaning him out because he had died in the hallway. And that just triggered him to like, boy, I wish I could just go, beat the crap out of this guy, that's like defiling this guy's dead body just for a few bucks, And that's what triggered him. This is his first and I think one of his only screenplays and stuff like that. And I think he did a great job.
He had some art he had to get out for the world, and it was Boondock Saints.
It was Boondock Saints.
Oh, it's pretty good. As far as it goes, yeah, it was enjoyable back then. It's still enjoyable now. I cringe a little more at some parts that I didn't previously.
Yeah. But the performances are timeless.
Oh, the performances are great. Willem Dafoe's character makes the movie for me easily. Like,
absolutely,
just every scene he's in, he steals.
Well, and then the blatant homosexuality. This is 1999. And to have this out, I feel like it was a big deal to have it.
I don't think it was that big a deal.
Okay, maybe it wasn't. And again, this is where I date myself of being 11 when this came out. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like they didn't. They pushed fun at it, but they didn't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not the best representation ever, I guess. But
no,
it wasn't that far out for. Yeah, it really wasn't that far out in that time.
Definitely not. And he played it excellently. I don't know, how he played his part. Like I couldn't tell like if he was like conflicted that he felt that way or what, but it was but the way he did it was good.
Yeah, the thing about his character, it seemed to me, was his character is like not self-reflective at all. Right, like he is just who he is, and the rest of the world just has to get used to it. Right, like he's not looking at anybody else for approval or for judgment. He doesn't care. He really doesn't care. That's why he puts in the headphones to do the thing. That's why he, touches his hair with his gloves all full of blood and brain bits. That's why he gets into such a state during the shootout at the poker party when he's getting that all together. And he actually doesn't care, about that type of stuff.
Which I think is great. Which is be yourself, right.
Yeah. And he's not, he's not a nice person in any sense of the word. And
even even when he's cruising for someone a lover or just his regular professional life, he doesn't seem to like anybody.
Yeah, he really doesn't.
He's very much out there. But again, that acting and that feeling led to my favorite scene in a bunch of movies, which was the firefight after the poker party, where he just starts firing up in the air, and you have to stop and ask yourself, what the crap is this?
In sympathy for how big of the firefight it was. That, I mean, it's like he feels it so deeply that he literally can't do anything to express his, I don't know if it's frustration, admiration, just like simple aggressive joy or frustration at how awesome that firefight was. So he's unloading his service weapon into the air, you know, and it's definitely stylistic, right? Like, there's no, this isn't, the question is whether or not he's actually doing the things you're seeing him do on screen in front of everybody, because it's not clear and nobody else really reacts to it. But I do think like the whole idea of having the past events, the flashback, and he's also in frame with the flashback doing this, you know, similar things as the characters. Amazing. It's such a cool piece. And then slow-mo, it's excessive slow-mo, but it works for what they're doing.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just,
I mean, that whole scene is fantastic. I you know, you don't know who that guy is who he's having the firefight yet, but you know, I think it's a good way to introduce him, even though they kind of somewhat introduced him in the prison and all that stuff. I thought this was a good way to show him to the world, and yet I like this scene because this is what converted his character into basically helping the Boondock Saints, or to helping the Saints. This was he's like, wow, I know this legally isn't right, but it is right.
Yeah, that's basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well, I love that scene for another reason, and that was because that scene wrapped up the whole Detective Duffy bit with I'm getting everything horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
You know, serial crusher. But on this one thing, what if it was one guy with six guns and he gets it right? Yep. And all of the previous just comes together for this glorious moment of, are you freaking kidding me? And this is amazing.
And we never get an answer, but I wonder if they ever told him that he got it right, because I mean he basically lets him out of the truck at the end of the movie, so he's in on it at the end.
Yep.
But man,
I was kind of blown away too, the whole part where El Dulce, is that his name, the Duke, I didn't get for a minute. I mean, I even had talked to Crit about this. I'm like, so why didn't he kill those guys when he's, you know, they're down there, they're praying over that body in their family prayer. He walks in on it, about to basically blow him away. And then he stops. And then he starts saying the prayer with him. I didn't get that for a minute. And it took me a few minutes. I had to, you know, talk to Crit a little bit about it. And I finally came to, and it's the conclusion is that's their father. Spoilers. But after the fact of spoilers. But I thought that was kind of neat how they kind of like, they didn't absolutely outright tell you that, but this father that they had been talking about that they didn't grow up with, that to have him come into life and find out that they're it kind of gave the impression that they're doing kind of what he was doing as well when he got thrown into prison. Is that what you guys got too?
Yeah. And then on top of that, like the whole no women or kids thing.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I've seen this movie a bunch, but I never got it, like why he didn't kill Willem Dafoe's character when they met him in the house. But that's because he came in from behind Willem Dafoe while Willem Dafoe's in drag. So the whole drag setup is to make sure that
Willem
he
Dafoe
could participate.
Stays alive.
Yeah, he could participate in that final scene at the shoot up at the mafia boss's house, and but don't die to the Duke coming in, because he basically thinks he's assaulting a woman. So,
dude, Dafoe did such an amazing job at that part too. That whole scene in drag, that is just amazing.
Yes, but he does not make a pretty woman, so I'm not sure how he got away with any of that.
He is not a pretty woman. No.
But Dafoe's performance sold the entire thing to me. Every line, every mark he hit so beautifully.
Well, maybe that's why people don't like Boondock Saints too, because he's not in it.
Yeah,
that's possible.
that is very possible. Because I think he's a binding force in the movie.
Yes, he is.
If you're making bread, this is the egg that's going to hold it all together. Without it, it's
Okay,
just
that's a
gonna fall apart.
random baking thing.
Well,
from
I'm
John.
practicing metaphors and analogies after the
Oh,
first
okay.
scene here.
All right, fair
At
enough.
least I didn't talk about glass houses.
Okay, good reference.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
I didn't practice that. That's nowhere in my notes.
Oh, see, and I had to practice the sponsor spot 3 times to get it as perfect as you just got that, dude.
So one thing I did put on my notes
What's
to
that?
go all the way back to the beginning of the film.
Okay.
Burns on your arse are no laughing matter. So
Okay.
there was. I just want to point
Sounds
this
like a
out
personal story.
because it's not. There's
What happened to you, John?
There's
Who
an
burned your
ER
butt?
doc. There's an ER doc that let out. It was like a 3 or 4 page explanation of why burns on your arse are just bad. Like how long they'll screw you up septically, like how long you're gonna have to deal with that. Don't light fireworks with your butt. Stuff like that.
So does this mean I gotta stop lighting my farts? I mean, come on, dude.
No,
I mean,
basically the same thing. So every time I see that scene now, that's what I think about is this guy warning anyone off from doing anything with fire near their butts because of how screwed up that can be.
So what you're saying is the only thing that should scorch your anus is Taco Bell.
Yeah, that, and I think the Russian guy got off easy by being hit in the head with a toilet.
Oof. From like what, 5 stories up or something?
well, it's
5
better than
stories
your
up.
butt being, burned off by, some Taco Bell hot sauce. I mean,
That's true. Well, there's our third copyright strike.
I don't think, that was just a decency strike, not a copyright strike.
Oh, is that what that is?
Sorry. Yep. We didn't market this thing for kids, right?
You got demonetized for
We're already demonetized, man. We're not to the monetized part yet. We're working towards that.
We have
we're
to be
so small,
monetized.
we can't be monetized.
Yeah, we have to be monetized first.
You have to have something like 10,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers to be monetized.
Yeah. So, did you guys pick up on a lot of the scene continuity? For example,
Like what?
when Del Rocco's packing up his house, right? He grabs the iron.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Iron. Yeah, same clothes iron they used to seal the rest of that guy's finger out.
Oh, and the wounds and stuff like that from everybody.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, the same exact iron, and that happened a few different times. I have another note here as soon as I can find it. But I mean, the scene continuity was just fantastic. They seemed to take everything in every scene, no matter how small it was, and made sure it played. It did work. It made sure that it carried the scene itself. So I just wanted to point that.
That was a cringy scene, by the way. That whole scene of them soldering, or what do they call it, sealing their wounds with the iron.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a tough scene to watch. Oh my goodness. Cauterizing your, I just can't imagine doing something like that.
Well, you don't expect much body horror because even the 2 dead cops and the cops or the 2 dead mobsters in the beginning and the mobsters that die in the circle. I mean, you see some kind of blackened around the eyes and some bullet holes, but you don't expect anything else. It's like, okay, they're not showing us, tons of gore to begin with, but then suddenly you get to
except for the cat.
it's like, oh, except for the cat, yeah. But you get to this scene and it's all holds are off. Like, nope, we're gonna show you the flesh sizzling as we put this iron down on it. Like you get the whole thing. It's Hostel level here.
Oh, Hostel level. Oh god.
That was a horrible movie.
That's one movie I never want to see again.
Yeah, I'll never see it again.
I have to put that on one of my lists.
It's okay. Yeah, I'll let you go into it. Go into it blind.
You can, if you've never seen that movie, you're going to be, that's a pretty grody movie.
I have scenes from that stuck in my head until the day I die.
Oh, me too.
I regret watching it.
Me too.
No, I'm saying that I'll put it in as one of my bad movie picks that you have to pick out.
No, I'll take a bye week.
Take a bye away.
Illegal.
I'm not sure if I could watch that again and I'd probably just be like try to go off memory.
Are we considering that a 90s sci-fi flick?
No.
No.
That's actually a 2000s horror. What would you be? A torture horror flick?
Post Saw era. Is what it would be.
Ugh.
Pre and post Saw with body horror.
I had a cousin that insisted I watch that show because he knows how much I love horror. That's not horror. That is that is like torture, and I don't do torture movies. Nothing like I don't really do the Saw movies. I thought the first Saw movie was amazing.
The first Saw movie was pretty good. Yeah,
it was really good. After that, I'm good. Anyway, guess we can talk about that another time. But
all right. So
I think we
come to or whatever we're gonna do for this film.
Yeah, so like on a scale for me of awesomeness of 1 to 5, I'm gonna give this a solid 3 because of awesomeness. And I know it's kind of in the middle there, but I thought this was a really good movie. I'm not sure if it's something that I'll be able to watch multiple times. Like I'll be enticed to watch again and again and again. But I thought that it was a really good movie the first time I watched it. So rewatchability on this is a little bit lower on me, but I still really liked it, and I thought it had some fantastic performances.
Nice. Would I watch this movie with my mom in the room? For the amount of racial slurs, the amount of F-bombs, and the rampant smoking on scene, which she does not like, my answer would be no, I would not watch this with my mom in the room. And because of that, this movie is amazing.
Yeah, he certainly illustrates the versatility of the word.
That's true. We talked about the spatula. We talked about the spatula tongue twister, but Del Rocco's scene where he's just freaking out and dropping as many F-bombs in 30 seconds as he can. I think that's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I definitely want to show it to my mom either.
So what about you, Crit?
I'm going to give it a 17 Willem Dafoe's in drag out of 24.
Dude, that's high. And stuff.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
I love that. 17 Willem Dafoe's in drag. I love that.
I'm expecting you to make a graphic for that, Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to make sure that everyone is subjected to Dafoe in
drag. Done. Oh, he's definitely going into this video. His picture will be up there in drag.
Just make his picture the entire video.
Oh, is that what you want me to?
Clips. Just every clip, put Dafoe in somehow. One of Dafoe's scene. Make sure it's part of the scene where Dafoe's in there.
Like do a bad cutout and hide him in the background.
Yeah, basically.
He's always there. I could put him in the House of Nerd logo in the glasses. Yeah. He's always looking out the glasses.
Or you could do like a video overlay like they do in like Zoom meetings where you just got little Dafoe's box out in the back left here.
Oh, I could do that easy.
All right, so are you guys ready for your?
Yeah, let's hear the next 3 movies that you're going to be doing for us next time.
Okay,
announce the theme.
Yeah. Oh, so this month's theme was was sci-fi movies pre 1990, and the bar was wide open. So there's no holds barred in what sci-fi movie you pick from when, as long as it's before 1990. All right, so your 3 titles. Your first one is It's a Discotheque in the Clouds. Okay. Your second one is Just Keep Running, Just Keep Running, Just Keep Running. And your third one is In Space, No One Can Hear You Sulk. So again, it's Discotheque in the Clouds, Just Keep Running, Just Keep Running, and In Space, No One Can Hear You Sulk.
Any feelings on that, Crit? The first and the last one are kind of enticing me a little bit.
I'm still trying to guess what the movies are. I guess
me too.
I probably shouldn't. Yeah, I don't know.
I love coming up with these titles. It's my favorite part.
Is that why you went 2 in a row?
No, I just wanted to make sure nobody else stole my movie.
Oh, you dork. Don't go out of turn just so you could just make sure to get your picks. That's underhanded. You shouldn't do that to us.
No.
We're not doing that again then.
Yeah,
no,
we're not
nobody
doing
would have
that.
stolen that. No, you're right. I'm too ashamed to say this is my favorite part of the entire thing, is making up these titles.
That's awesome.
That's why it is true. I wanted to go second. Not to steal a movie. It was definitely because I like coming up with these more.
Sure.
That's awesome. I really am interested in the Discotheque in the Sky. Tell me if you feel like there's something more, because the last one, the aliens. What is it?
In space, no one can hear you sulk.
Yeah, it doesn't sound exciting. So at least discotheque means like maybe some dancing or something, but I don't
Discotheque in the Sky, huh?
Yeah, and then the run one is just, that could be anything.
Logan's Run or something like that.
Yeah. Logan's Run. That, if you picked that would be pretty awesome. Actually,
I really like that movie.
I don't know if I can say I really like that movie, but I definitely seen it like once.
I do like it definitely as a dated one.
We'll go with Josh's pick.
Want to go do Discotheque in the Sky? Okay.
Yeah,
okay, so I'll give you the two you didn't pick first.
Okay.
Sure.
Just Keep Running is Battlestar Galactica from 1978.
Oh, you're kidding me!
That's not a movie though, is it?
No, it is.
Yep. It is. It actually is.
1978 movie.
It was originally released in the theaters
to go
get
run.
Well, because the entire movie they're running from the Cylons.
Cylons.
Yeah.
You know, I have that on DVD, right,
swimming,
JHoN?
Just Keep Swimming. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the second one was In Space, No One Can Hear You Sulk, and that is 1981's Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yeah, wow, I don't know what that is.
I know what that is, and I see you're a man of culture.
Thank you.
Is it good culture?
It's good. I like it. I like it a lot. There's a lot of cool little fights. But the main character is a whiny teenager who acts exactly like a hormonal teenager would thrust into war. And so that's where the sulking comes in, because he refuses to fight for a little bit, But I like the film quite a bit.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's on YouTube in its entirety.
Yeah, it's called, what is it one more time?
Mobile Suit Gundam 1.
Okay.
It's an anime.
1981. You'll get it. Okay, your pick for a discotheque in the clouds is Flash Gordon, 1980.
You picked Flash Gordon.
I picked Flash Gordon.
Oh my goodness.
Why'd you pick Flash Gordon?
Because it's amazing.
Okay.
It is a sci-fi movie pre-1990.
Yeah, you met the requirements.
This could be classified also as a guilty pleasure as well.
Of all the sci-fi movies, those are your picks. That is really interesting.
I think you would have been okay that we weren't going to pick any. Well, I could have picked Battlestar Galactica. I am such a big fan. I have all of the DVDs of it, of the series and the movie. But I mean, I would love that one. I watch that one all the time.
There's a reason I picked these. One, I think they're going to give a lot of good ammunition for a podcast. I feel there'll be a lot to talk about, especially in Flash Gordon. But two, they were the films of my youth, because when I would stay home sick, we had the Sci-Fi Channel, and what the Sci-Fi Channel did during the day was to play sci-fi movies that were like 1990 sci-fi. So they'd have marathons of Battlestar Galactica.
Yes, they would.
They'd have Flash Gordon. Or, they'd have things like Mobile Suit Gundam wasn't. That was kind of a later in high school thing. But these were the movies I watched when I was a kid staying home sick, and it was awesome. I loved these films.
Well, we're not on guilty pleasures anymore, right?
No, absolutely not.
Like, of all the amazing movies that were done in sci-fi, I mean, you have just a huge catalog.
Yep, and
60s, 70s, 80s movies.
I picked movies that were close to my heart.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, there is no other prerequisite.
You're gonna give me crap every time.
It's a rule. It's a rule.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just reliving John's childhood through the podcast of his favorite movies.
Well, I can't say much of that, because most of these movies are like nostalgic to me too. Like the ones that I'm picking, they're nostalgic, but I also think they're amazing. And hold up most of them.
All right.
I can be more clinical if you want me to.
Oh, you don't have to be.
No.
I am well, not silently psychoanalyzing you based on your choices.
Yeah, no, you're anything but silent on that part.
You actually just gave me a
podcast. If I was,
you actually just gave me I just had one of mine. We were just talking when you guys were just bantering back and forth. One of the ones I wanted to just popped into my head, which is amazing and stuff. Okay. I think you guys will like.
So you'll do next week. I'm excited to hear it. Right? Or is it Crit's turn? Since I kind of screwed up the order.
Yeah. What was the order?
It was me. It was actually it used to be me and then Crit and then John. So he just reversed it.
Yeah.
But I can do it if I can do it though.
Either way, I don't care. I can be patient and wait my turn.
I can't. It's so much fun coming up with these titles. I can't wait.
Well, you burned that card, so
yeah,
you won't be able
true.
to do that one again.
Absolutely not.
Oh, I've got a good one for you guys. I've got two that I think are really solid movies. I got to think of a third one though.
Okay,
Anyways.
So this week we have to watch Flash Gordon, 1980, and
it's been a long time since I've watched this one.
And Josh is going to bring his 3 suggestions for next week.
Yes, I am.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming. And as always, may you be excellent to each other and live long and prosper from us here at Josh's House of Nerd. Have a good night, everybody out there.
Thanks for watching. For more nerdy awesomeness, please like and subscribe and check out our other nerdy videos.